Elon Musk taking SpaceX public and seeking a crazy valuation, $1.75 trillion. But here's the thing. The numbers in the filing seem to show that the company is not the financial giant that some people thought it was. So Doug Flynn joins us from Flynn Zito Capital Management. I kept reading articles about this. We talked about it briefly as it was coming out, that, largest IPO ever, and then there seemed to be some disappointment in the actual financial figures. What's going on with SpaceX?
Yeah, well, if it comes out at that valuation, it would instantly be the 7th largest company in the United States. And the funny part is the current number 7 company in the United States is Tesla. So it would replace that as the 7th. And the interesting thing about the differential is Tesla has 5 times the amount of revenue as this does. So you would think companies with similar valuations would have similar revenue, and that is not the case. And of course, Tesla is profitable. This is not. And so another good measure to look at, and this is the concern about this IPO, is that if you look at price to sales, which is another key measure you can look at, that this is basically going to come out at 100 times, about 97 times the price to sales ratio. And just for comparison, that's 5 times what NVIDIA is and 25 times what Amazon is. So there's some concerns with this valuation, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, there would be. You talk about that, especially versus NVIDIA, and everybody knows the stock run that company has had to make it the largest company in the world by market value. Yes. That is crazy. There's a lot of AI involved in this and in all of these conversations, and I do want to use that as a transition to talk about jobs. Jamie Dimon, who's probably the most famous banker in the world, had this to say about how he's going to be hiring. Listen.
I think it'll reduce some of our jobs down the road. I don't think it'll be all different types of jobs, and you have to deploy it at a level. Like, I think we'll be hiring more AI people and probably less bankers in certain categories, and it'll make them more productive.
Should have said fewer bankers, by the way. But that being said, that is, so it's a banker saying I'm not going to hire as many bankers. But I took away as like that's kind of a balanced approach. He's not saying this is the end of the world. He's saying it's a change in the world over time. And the other thing he said is that, they, through attrition, I guess that it's such a big bank, they turn over like 10% of their staff. So you work through this. So my read, I don't know what your read, and I also don't know if he's right or wrong, is that, he thinks this is going to be okay. Not easy, but okay.
Sure. Yeah, if you're losing 10% of your employees every year just through natural attrition, you can decidedly not hire all 10% of that back, and so you don't have to do massive layoffs, which is one of the concerns about AI. That doesn't change the fact that some of those people are not going to find jobs back at JP Morgan. They might find them elsewhere. But the bigger issue here is a lot of the work, like the junior banker track, if you think about it, a lot of that work, the analysis and the data collection, all of that stuff can be done now by AI. So if they hire less junior bankers, that seems fine, but the problem is one day those junior bankers are your future senior bankers and future leaders of the company. So if there's no track there, what hasn't really been put together is what's the future of the higher end of the companies look like if you lost your key track to that future success of people that you have. So
you're basically saying we have to rethink entry level. This is banking as an example. We got to rethink. Some people may think that eliminates it, but we can't do that. We got to rethink how entry-level jobs in many industries are looked at.
Yes, and some of these jobs are going to be just redirected, redeployed as far as resources, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the track that's going to be the future leader of the JP Morgan one day when he's gone. So yes, that does have to be rethought, but I do think, and I agree, that it's not going to be like a switch that gets flipped overnight. It's going to be one of these gradual things, at least for the companies that are doing it right and taking their time to do it thoughtfully.
Right. Just faster than some of these other transitions we've had over the years. Thank you, Doug.